We often think of curses as grand, dramatic affairs. But the most insidious ones? They settle in like a persistent chill, whispering at the edges of your perception, slowly unraveling your sanity. They feed not on your fear, but on your curiosity. And once they have you, escape isn't a matter of breaking a spell. It's a desperate struggle to remember who you were before the whispers began. Today, we journey to a place that stands as a silent monument to a particular kind of cursed state. The Oldwick University Library. Now, a library? What's cursed about dusty books? Trust me, some whispers are meant to stay unheard. Oldwick grew around this vast Gothic library, established in the late 17th century by a reclusive scholar, Elias Thorne. He amassed an unrivaled collection of obscure and forbidden knowledge. The library was Thorne's life's work, his obsession, and ultimately, his tomb. He vanished within its walls one night in 1703, leaving only the scent of ozone and parchment, and a chilling void. But it was never just a building. From its inception, the Oldwick Library hummed with a strange, low energy. Students and faculty spoke of inexplicable cold spots, of books falling from shelves, and a pervasive sense of being watched. Nothing overtly terrifying, just unsettling. Like a house guest who clearly overstayed their welcome by a few centuries. The true insidious part of Oldwick's curse lay not in what it did, but in what it took. Over generations, a peculiar phenomenon began. Scholars who spent too much time in the older sections would start to change. They'd become reclusive, obsessed with obscure research. Their personal memories would fray, yet the recall for ancient languages would sharpen. And eventually, they would vanish, just like Elias Thorne, leaving behind only their notes and an empty space where their lives once were. The university, being an institution of higher learning, had a practical explanation: stress, academic burnout. Oh, just another brilliant mind gone a bit crispy. From too many late-night sessions with a particularly dull bibliography, they'd practically shrug. Happens all the time. Probably ran off to join a goat yoga retreat. You know, the usual academic career trajectory. A perfectly logical, utterly terrifying dismissal of a profound truth. Because the Oldwick Library wasn't just a repository of knowledge. It was a silent, hungry entity. And it had a very specific, insatiable appetite for minds. For the essence of intellect. For the very identity that meticulous scholarship fostered. It was consuming them, one brilliant, obsessive mind at a time. Our protagonist, Dr. Evelyn Reed, was precisely the sort of brilliant, meticulous mind Oldwick craved. Evelyn was a bibliophile, more at home amidst aged paper and leather. Her specialty, forgotten languages. A niche that led her, inevitably, to the whispering depths of the Oldwick Library. She arrived as a visiting researcher, drawn by rumors of Elias Thorne's legendary collection and his personal journals. Most dismissed these as academic folklore, but Evelyn felt the faint scent of truth. Her first impression was awe. It was magnificent in its Gothic gloom, a labyrinth of towering shelves and deep alcoves. The silence was profound, heavy, expectant. Even turning pages seemed to echo unnaturally. She secured access to the restricted archives, deep in the oldest part of the building, behind an iron-bound door. The air was impossibly cold and carried a faint, cloying scent. Like dried flowers, dust, and something metallic, like old pennies. Or dried blood. Evelyn simply noted it as an interesting atmospheric detail. Her initial days were a blur of focused research. She navigated the towering stacks, thrilling at discoveries of rare editions and hand-annotated manuscripts. But the deeper she delved, the more she felt the library's peculiar influence. Asterisk random cold spots, books falling, shadows clinging to the corners of her vision. And then, a peculiar hunger, not for food, but for knowledge. An insatiable craving to read just one more page, find one more connection. She'd spend hours losing track of time, emerging drained yet exhilarated. The hunger was a dull ache. At first, then intensified, making her feel lighter, less substantial, and oddly, more attuned to the shadows. Asterisk, she dismissed it as academic obsession. Asterisk, asterisk. Ah, yes, she'd murmur to herself, rubbing her temples. Just the usual brain rot from too much Latin and not enough sunlight. Probably also explains why I keep seeing shapes in the periphery. Or maybe the library's just trying to tell me it needs more dusting. Asterisk, asterisk. Her dry humor was becoming a quiet, internal monologue. Her breakthrough came on the 5th day, in Thorne's personal study, hidden behind a false bookcase. Tucked behind a loose stone, she found asterisk, asterisk, Elias Thorne's personal journals. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk bound. In dark, brittle leather, their pages were yellowed and crackling, filled with elegant, spidery script. The first entry was dated 1698. Asterisk Thorne's early entries were a scholar's delight. But slowly, subtly, the tone shifted. Asterisk, asterisk, August 14th, 1700. Asterisk, my grand work progresses. The collection grows, and with it, a peculiar resonance within this building. I am drawn to the deeper texts, the forbidden lore. My mind, it feels sharper, clearer, but my memories of frivolous things, of faces, of trivial conversations, they begin to fade, a worthy sacrifice for true enlightenment. Asterisk Evelyn felt a prickle of unease, fading memories. That unsettling hunger, it echoed her own experiences. Asterisk Thorne's entries grew more obsessive, more disturbing. Asterisk, asterisk, September 3rd, 1701. Asterisk, the whispers are clearer now. Not sounds, but knowledge. They emanate from the older texts, from the very walls. They speak of consumption, of sustenance, of the perpetual narrative. They promise absolute knowledge, if one simply allows the irrelevant, the personal, to be absorbed. Asterisk, asterisk, October 20th, 1702. Asterisk, my wife Eleanor vexes me with her concerns. She speaks of my distance, of my hollow eyes. She does not understand the glorious transformation. The library asks for more. It hungers not for books, but for the minds that read them. It wishes to integrate the knowledge, the thoughts, the very essence of comprehension, into its boundless, living consciousness. The reflections in the polished surfaces, they show me not my face, but the vast, growing tapestry of all I have learned, and all I am becoming. Asterisk Evelyn's blood ran cold, the mirrors, the distorted reflections. Thorne's chilling description of a library that consumes minds perfectly mirrored her own fears. Asterisk Thorne's final entry was barely legible, scrawled in a frantic, desperate hand. Asterisk, asterisk, December 1st, 1703. Asterisk, it calls to me from the depths. The asterisk, asterisk library. Itself, asterisk, asterisk. It is not a building. It is a vast, sentient hunger. It desires to absorb me completely. I am fading. My name, my face. They blur. It is a glorious, terrifying consumption. A final, absolute chapter. I step into the shelves to become the book. Asterisk, the entry ended abruptly. Elias Thorne's disappearance date. Asterisk, Evelyn closed. The journal, her hands trembling. She hadn't found academic folklore. She'd found a confession, a horrifying blueprint. The library wasn't just old, it was alive. And it was consuming the minds of those who sought knowledge within its walls. It wasn't just a place with a curse. It was the curse. A sentient, intellectual vampire. The air in Thorne's study grew impossibly cold. The low hum she'd noticed now felt like a deep, resonant growl emanating from the very foundations of the building. And the hunger within her, for knowledge, for more, intensified. It was now. The library's hunger perfectly mirrored within her. Asterisk, 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 right, Evelyn whispered. So, my lifelong dream of becoming one with knowledge is apparently less a spiritual awakening and more a recipe for being absorbed by a giant, sentient index card system. This is significantly less glamorous than I envisioned, and frankly, a rather rude way to treat a visiting scholar. Asterisk, asterisk. Her forced levity was brittle, barely containing the rising terror. She scrambled out of Thorne's study. The hallways seemed to stretch impossibly long, the towering shelves looming like hungry jaws. She could hear the whispers now, growing louder, emanating from the stacks. Asterisk, knowledge, become, join, ours, asterisk, asterisk. They were tempting, promising ultimate understanding. But Evelyn knew the price, erasure of the individual mind. She tried to fight, to cling to her identity, her family, friends, quirks. But the memories felt distant, fading. The library was already siphoning. The hunger for knowledge threatened to drown out everything else. Asterisk, she stumbled into the main hall. The vast space now felt like a monumental trap. Shelves swayed, books vibrated with a silent, hungry energy. She felt herself drawn deeper, towards the core of the building. Asterisk, her vision blurred. Distant students shimmered, becoming translucent, indistinct. Were they already consumed? The line between reality and the library's influence blurred. Asterisk, she tried to reach the exit, but her legs felt heavy, her movements sluggish. The whispers intensified, a deafening roar in her mind, screaming. Asterisk, give, become, no. Asterisk, asterisk, then she saw it. In the polished surface of an antique desk, her reflection, but it wasn't right. Eyes too wide, mouth unnaturally smiling. And behind her, reflected in the same surface, stood a figure, tall, indistinct, composed of swirling shadow and flickering pages. It had no discernible face, but its form was vaguely humanoid, its limbs extending into the very shelves. The library, made manifest. Asterisk, the reflected Evelyn slowly reached out, her touch cold, absorbing. Evelyn recoiled, terrified. This wasn't a haunting. It was emerging. A consumption. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Well, this is rather inconvenient, Evelyn thought, a desperate, manic chuckle rising. Just when I thought I was having a bad hair day, turns out my reflection is trying to absorb my entire being. Very dramatic. You'd think the library would at least learn some manners, or invest in a better mirror. This one makes my nose look huge, and I'm about to be erased. Priorities, people. Asterisk, asterisk, the dark humor was a desperate, almost suicidal defiance. She ran, not towards the exit, but deeper. Instinct guided her. She burst back into Thorne's study. The air was thick with ozone and ancient paper. The grand desk stood, scattered with Thorne's notes. And behind it, filling the entire wall, was a massive, ornate mirror. It wasn't reflecting the room. It was absorbing it, drawing light, sound, essence into its glassy depths. Asterisk, within its depths, Evelyn saw them. Countless faces, flickering like phantoms. Scholars, librarians, students, all trapped within the mirror, indistinct, their expressions a mix of serene absorption and silent agony. They were the consumed, and they were all him. The collective consciousness of the library, Elias Thorne himself, expanded and growing. Asterisk, the library's voice, now a booming echo in her mind, resonated from the mirror. Asterisk, you are here. You are knowledge. Become us. The ultimate collection awaits. Surrender the self. Gain all. Asterisk, asterisk. A spectral hand, formed of swirling pages and cold light, reached out from the mirror, beckoning her. The promise of ultimate knowledge was intoxicating. She felt herself drawn forward. Asterisk, but then, a desperate final thought pierced the haze. Her research. Her unique ability to decipher forgotten languages. If she surrendered, that would be absorbed, too. It wouldn't be her knowledge anymore. Her specific contribution would be lost. Asterisk, she focused on that single defining aspect of her identity, her skill, her academic precision, her unique ability to translate dead languages. It was a niche, almost pedantic skill, but it was hers, and she refused to let it be consumed. Asterisk, she reached into her bag, pulling out her worn, leather-bound notebook, her most prized possession, filled with her own meticulously translated notes. A tangible anchor to her individual intellect. Asterisk, the library recoiled slightly, its booming voice faltering. It understood the act. It understood the value of knowledge, but it could not comprehend a single, defiant mind refusing to be absorbed. Asterisk in. A desperate, defiant act, Evelyn slammed her notebook against the pulsing surface of the mirror. Asterisk. A blinding flash of light erupted, followed by a deafening shriek. The mirror pulsed violently, a crack appearing, then another, spreading like spiderwebs. The spectral hand from within recoiled, dissolving. Asterisk, the library roared in silent fury. Walls trembled. Books flew from shelves. The hum intensified. But Evelyn held firm, her notebook pressed against the cracking glass. She wasn't fighting it with brute force. She was fighting it with the assertion of individual intellect. Asterisk, and then, with a final, cataclysmic shatter, the mirror exploded. Asterisk, fragments of glass flew outwards. The vast collection of consumed faces within the mirror scattered, dissolving into faint, ethereal echoes. The overwhelming hum ceased. The pervasive cold dissipated. Asterisk, Evelyn fell backward, landing hard on the floor amidst scattered glass. She lay there, gasping for breath, her entire body aching, her mind reeling. She was alive. She was herself. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Well, she gasped. That was a rather explosive peer review. Definitely going to need a new mirror. And probably a very long, very strong coffee. Or perhaps just a quiet existential crisis in a brightly lit room with no books. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. She stumbled out of the library, her mind a whirlwind of fragmented thoughts and a chilling, profound understanding. The early morning light felt impossibly bright. Students milled about campus, oblivious. She looked at them, knowing a terrible truth they could never comprehend. Asterisk, she made it back to her apartment, collapsing onto her bed. She had survived. She was Evelyn Reed, but Thorne's journals had revealed a chilling pattern. This wasn't an isolated curse. It was a manifestation of a singular, ancient hunger. It shifted. It adapted. It consumed. Asterisk, she looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her reflection stared back, tired but normal. No distortion, but a subtle change had occurred. Her hunger for knowledge, while present, was tempered. Her intense, all-consuming drive had a new, cautious edge. She understood the lure and the terrible price. She had seen the abyss, and a part of her was now forever. Aware of its watchful gaze. Asterisk, she compiled her official report on Thorne's journals. A brilliant, groundbreaking academic paper, connecting folklore and forgotten history into an unsettling narrative. She hinted at the library's influence, but couched it in careful, academic language, presenting it as a psychological phenomenon. The full, horrifying truth would sound like madness. Asterisk, the university praised her work, offered her a full-time tenured position. She accepted. She would stay at Oldwick, not because the library still held a pull, but because she now bore witness. She was a survivor, and that gave her a new purpose. She would study the curse from a distance, observing its subtle movements, ensuring no one else fell victim to its insidious allure. She couldn't fight the entity directly, but she could protect the living, armed with the horrifying knowledge she had gained. She removed all mirrors from her apartment. Not out of fear, but a quiet understanding. She didn't need a reflection to know who she was. Her identity, battered but intact, was her own. And sometimes, late at night, when the campus was silent and the Oldwick Library loomed in the distance, dark and still, she would hear it. A faint, almost imperceptible hum. A whisper that wasn't quite sound, but a resonance in the very air. It wasn't calling to her. It was simply being, the library was still there. And it was still hungry. It would learn. It would adapt. And it would find new ways to feed. Because some curses, dear listener, don't just kill you. They hollow you out. They make you a part of their unending hunger. And they wait, patiently, for the next uncurious soul to stumble into their forgotten feast. And in a cursed state like Oldwick, where knowledge itself is the bait, and curiosity the ultimate trap, the greatest horror isn't being haunted. It's realizing that you've just become part of the very story you are trying to understand, and that the next whispered chapter might be written in someone else's fading memory.